they were following. It was very connected to Marshall, it was very connected to Cabell County, and with the change in the law that requires, trying to give students more opportunities, more employment opportunities, so that they can work at Head Start, they can be preschool aides, they can be kindergarten aides, because the state is lacking in those areas. There's a high need for those positions to be filled. So the change in the law then tweaked the program. And so this new early childhood education certification program is through Dr. Carolyn Cepay and her Office of Adult and Technical Education. So she is she's in the division that Kathy Anthony is over. So that's where the whole conversation started, and she led me onto the new program, very strongly advised us to move in that direction, and then gave me a list of schools that were using that program that she wanted me to visit, and then here are some schools using the old program who did it well. And so I visited, I drove all over the place and visited these folks. So that's kind of how we came to this point. And there are some monies, even beyond what Kathy D'Antoni mentioned, that would be available. Smaller amounts, school improvement monies, again, obviously grants, there are plenty of grants.
And we're not ready to come with a budget to go on and say, this is what it's going to take. What we're trying to get are the kind of questions you've got, so that we can sort of take the next steps and move toward that budgetary. We're not trying to overstep anything. We want
You're
to.
just overwhelming this tonight.
I know, well,
And
it's overwhelming.
I have a several-page document for you, but
Well, let me-
Dwight said bullet points.
Now, what Dr. D'Antoni's talking about, that they would fund, and we've already come to, that we could use a regular classroom, that if Mr. Snyder could arrange that. And then the other classroom would be more specialized, and
Yes.
from the way I'm understanding that, the funds that, they would provide funds to do whatever was necessary to renovate that, assuming Mr.
Yes.
Snyder had such a space.
Yes.
Okay. The position for that position, Dr. D'Antoni, there would fund that position for 3 to 5 years. Now, the other position.
She would fund both.
Both
the whole-
positions?
that's- Yes,
Okay.
even though they're separate, because they're interconnected. What
Okay.
she's particularly interested in is having a model with this new early childhood education program. So this is the first year that it's started anywhere. So everybody else who's doing it, either they were doing the old program before and they really still are, and she knows that, or they've just started and they're just a little smidge ahead of us. And so I'm sure that she sees this as an opportunity. Number one, she has a heart for Lincoln County. And, I don't know the history there, but I can tell you in our conversation that she has a heart for Lincoln County. Carolyn Cepay has a heart for Lincoln County. That connection I do know, because she told me her grandpa grew up around the road from where I live, okay? So, all roads lead back to Lincoln County, and everybody has a heart here. I'm not saying, let's see, how to put this tactfully. We are at the right place at the right time. That's what I believe. And, had I not had that conversation with her, I would have had to work a lot harder to come here and be as excited and confident about what I'm sharing. Because we would have to figure out how we're going to fund it. Okay? So just for a minute, let's talk beyond 3 to 5 years. Let's say that everything goes perfectly and this all comes together and Dr. D'Antoni's paying for it. And it's amazing. And people from all over West Virginia are coming to look at it because they want to know how to do it right. 5 years from now, the only thing that you all would have to continue to fund would be 1 teacher position and materials and supplies on an annual basis for that classroom, for that technical career CTE program. Because when things are set in place correctly, the income generated from providing services to these infants and toddlers will sustain the salaries of however many staff we end up having to have, which will depend on the size of the space and the number of kids and all of that.
So the two positions eventually after 5 years, you're saying, one would fund itself through.
Yes, sir.
And the other is the board could possibly, or would have.
And the
to fund.
other one.
So
is
the only
into
expense the board would have 5 years down the road would be one position.
One position, and then supplies and materials,
Right.
which I've heard, in talking to these
Head
schools,
starters.
it ranges from $500 to $1,500 a year, kind of, in terms of, there's new books that have to be purchased, or they use a lot of consumable materials in that class, in that course.
So logistically then, once again, Mr. Snyder can locate the
You
two
can find us a room.
sites or two spaces within the high school, then the funds would be available to convert one as needed, and the other would be more of a semi, then the positions would be funded through this grant, and we'd be the model for the state.
That's
Doesn't
the
it-
hope and the plan.
I like it.
That's
And I like
the
it. I like
plan.
it.
That's the plan. The only thing that I would add to all of that is that where we are at this point, all of this probably sounds very well defined to you all. And I want you to know that it isn't. That the point for us coming at this early venture is to say, we need your input, we want your input. And for us to move forward on any of these pieces, we need your blessing. Yes.
Have I missed something here, with everything falling in place,
Yes,
which hopefully it will,
yes.
when is the starting date?
Very good question. Beginning of next
October
school year.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And I really think that it will take all of that time for these things to happen. Yeah.
Now,
Getting
one
the
thing
right-
that we have to do, and Shelley and I talked a little bit about it, is somewhere down in the future, there are some things that you guys will have to approve ahead of time in order for us to apply for certain grants. And in my world, it's called a board resolution that allows us to apply for different grants. I'm not sure as far as Board of Education, what you guys do to authorize people to apply for grants on your behalf. I don't know if you've ever had to go through that or not, but there's some grants out there that you all, a blessing in
Like
some
a
kind of
memorandum of
resolution.
Something,
memorandum,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So,
Basically, what you're wanting us to do is give you your blessing so you can take the next step.
Your blessing and your feedback and your input.
Well, I
Because,
think we're all in agreement.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure that, especially when we get, I'm not sure who all Dr. D'Antoni would have at the table, but I'm sure that, Ms. Lucas, you would be there, and I'm not sure who else she might want to be a part of that conversation when we get to that point. But I definitely want this to be, I want it to be the very best, and I want it to be, owned by you guys. Because the truth is, at the end of this year, when this amazing thing is in place, I get to say, high five, and I turn around and walk away.
August 31st, she's done.
Nah, well, I don't know about that. Mrs. Lucas, do you have any comments or thoughts, concerns, or anything?
No, just as
Are you overwhelmed like I am? Not quite as bad as no problem.
It's just, the idea and the concept, I support. I just became a little concerned earlier, a few days ago when we were talking about a particular space and moving students around. That sort of, had Mr. Brennan to look into that. Those were my concerns, and did do the investigation, and I think, just understanding that those children can not be moved.
Sure.
Would cause you all to look at a different area of the building,
I guess one of our questions would be, how often before we come to you saying, we need you to vote on this,
Right.
how often would you like input and updates and, you know,
And
what
or
we're
would
learning?
someone want to
and-
be a part of our, be on this little committee, whatever you want to call us? If
I
someone
think
would
we
want to
leave that to
represent.
discretion, Ms. Leeds.
I think Mr. Minnick has been attending.
Not me, having a background in early childhood, I would say that Shelley and Rick and Dwight and Dion have really pulled me along. I've received a great education through this process, but I'd say every month or so as things kind of unfold and becomes a little more defined, we should bring it to the board, let them know where we are.
I don't know that a regular schedule will be necessary, just as, you know, certain steps or phases are addressed. Like when Mr. Snyder finally says, yeah, these are going to be, I'm hung up on these spaces. This is what
What Ross showed me.
Okay, and
We'll figure
once
that out tomorrow.
that's settled, I think, you know, just as you all feel the need to address and come to us. Mr. Coburn's back there, and we know that his organization has money, and I'm sure as time goes on. that
That's not being recorded.
You
But,
can put a
uh,
disclaimer.
Yeah, there you go.
But, you know, obviously, this is going to be a cooperative effort
Yes.
among everybody. Like Dwight said, there's a great need for people that, you know, for jobs that he can't fill now, and this would help do that. And I mean, it has so many attributes that, I don't want to belabor that, but just when you all feel the need to meet, converse with the superintendent, set that up, and her designee or she will be there. You got to feel it's Mr. Midkiff when I'm heard so far.
Doing such a great
Oh, I know.
job. That's me.
You'll be ready for those grandchildren.
He's looking more and more like a grandpa, so.
Right. I can blame for it.
But no, I think, do you all have anything else? You don't hear, you all
I
have
think
any-
it sounds wonderful. If that one daycare would close, I'd have to babysit. So hurry.
And one other thing on that, you know, we have lots of great grandmothers and aunts and uncles that watch children throughout the county for working people and everything. But all of our people don't have those opportunities and those
That's
wonderful
right.
people. And I just keep thinking, you know, some of the people that I see where these kids stay during the day with the animals around, the dogs, you know, and all this stuff. And I just don't feel that all those things are appropriate for kids. And I just think the more we can get these people out here and the more daycares we can open in the county, it gives more people an ability to go to work.
But what it does really, there's a continuity almost from birth
That's
to
right.
graduation, because, you
That's
know,
right.
this would take them right up to preschool, and then from, you know, that we already have, so we would be able to assist those that maybe can't assist themselves in other ways for financial reasons or whatever it may be. So, I mean, the concept is tremendous.
And what the teens are gonna learn in the vocational ed classes, I think, is gonna make a tremendous difference in how they, even if they don't go on to be a child care worker, how they raise their
How
own
they parent.
children and understand brain development and motor skills and
Yes.
discipline.
Yes.
I mean, that, to me, that's a really exciting piece of this, that we can, you know, inform our young people so they'll be better
Well,
parents.
that, and then ideally, we would see achievement gains, because if we're going to be nurturing them along at a young age in
Yes.
preschool, you know, because we all know that those first years are so critical, and sometimes we lose them early, in their early years, so if we have, not control, but if we're working with them at an early age, ideally, as time goes on, you know, that's helping the student achievement throughout the whole thing. Do you have a question?
Yes, you said the first priority would be for the children of the teens.
Yes.
To the school. And then you could open it up to children of faculty. Do they pay or is, okay?
Yes, and then
So it
everybody would pay, but for a student it would be based on income. And so for a
That's what I was
student,
gonna say,
they
it's
would
not
get,
skills.
they would get link support. So that would come through the state, basically. There are monies set aside for parents, whether they're in high school and finishing their education, or they're in college finishing education. There are monies for childcare. And so the state would pay that part, but then faculty or community members would pay based on.
And where does that money go?
And if you don't charge the private pay or don't charge those, then you're not allowed to be a link. the advantage of the private pay, different than Link, is Link pays the child care, only pays for days the kid's present. So if the kid's sick and doesn't show up, you get no money for that kid that day. But for private daycare, private pay daycare, the people pay a slot for the entire week. So that if they decide they're gonna go to New Orleans for, take Thursday and Friday off, they're still having to pay daycare for Thursday and Friday. So that's the revenue generation. And this really should become resource neutral to the county as we move on and
Right.
provide extra funding for some stuff,
So the money goes to the county.
The- Yes, yes. So basically,
Doesn't go
you
to
all,
Shelley.
there would be money outflow from the county for these positions, but it would be coming back in. And, hopefully, if this funding with Dr. D'Antoni worked out, we'd be generating some revenue to create a cushion so that there's not a cash flow problem. Do you know what I mean? So that we're not asking the board to fund these salaries for the first 6 months and we're waiting for all the money to come back from the state, from Link or whatever. It doesn't take that long, but I'm just, to give you just a rough idea. Hopefully we'll have those funds. And it will also give us time to fill the center, because when you start a center, we're not, if we have 20 slots, which I don't know how many we'll have, but if we have them, they're not all going to be filled when we open day one. And actually, best practices say, even if we had 20 children to come in, we shouldn't bring them all on the same day, because it's not good for them. So we're really looking at best practices at everything we do. And when we have the financial support of somebody like Dr. D'Antoni, it gives us, the room to be able to do what's in the best interest of the children and what is fiscally sound.
Sounds great. I've had the opportunity to work with Shelley in the past as a principal, and I know she's a go-getter. And Mr. McDowell, he's always looking for something innovative. I like to tease him, but at the same time, he serves a great service to our county and has for many years. So we appreciate both of you coming. Just update, work with Ms. Lucas and Mr. Nick, get there when you all think it's appropriate for us to know what's going on and hear more from Dr. D'Antoni as far as funding, because obviously that's a concern we have.
Sure.
We have to have on it. But from what you've told us, everything seems to be something certainly feasible and a great idea. Great. I'm glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
Some good news.
Yes,
That's what we
good
like
news
to
is
hear.
good. It's good.
Anything else, Rick or Dwight?
So we'll come back with more stuff and more specifics and
Okay.
probably more questions as well.
Well, that's fine. This is something that, it's worthy of our time.
We're creating, and the way we're creating this thing as we go, there's not really a model out there that we can draw on.
Well, that's what I meant about having a regular time, how often or how frequently you talk with us, just as you feel the need to.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate your
Appreciate
time.
it.